writing, storytelling, whatever we have come here for, dear Lord, we pray that you may help us live here victorious with a trophy, dear Lord. Help us to demand first position. Pray that you may help everyone to participate evenly, dear Lord. Do not feel left out because we've all worked together to reach here where we are. Pray that you may help us to do well and help us to win all the competitions that we take part in today. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Of a broken continent, but I stand to show you that the narrative of Africa is changing. Individual African countries have made strides in economic and social development. Why would we risk disrupting this in the name of unity? Firstly, let's start by defining our motion. To unite is to join and become one. Africa should not unite and become one because the squeaky wheel gets the grease. A large and diverse union encompassing many large and small countries could lead to a situation where the central government prioritizes the needs of larger countries over the smaller ones. For instance, a country like Nigeria cannot be put under the same roof as a country like Burundi. Burundi's needs will get neglected and overlooked under the same government. Do you agree? Putting some countries' economies and safety and resource management at risk is a serious issue we cannot afford to ignore. Let's not make a molehill out of a mountain. Secondly, as the saying goes, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Putting an entire continent's economy under the hands of a few African politicians is a risk we simply cannot afford making. Therefore, if 2 + 2 is 4, one Africa is simply not the cure. Corruption can be seen as a termite eating at Africa's potential. Africans need to work on eliminating the disease-causing crop from the root in order for the whole field to prosper, if you get what I mean. In conclusion, my opposers worry about African unity, but I worry about your lack of vision. They're so focused on what to bring to the economic pizza that they're forgetting that we're struggling at the world's table. A United States of Africa, that's a seat at the head. Let's not scraps under the table. Let's order a better future for Africa, not a struggling one. I have been your speaker, Kimberly Waidera from Kijani School, and I rose to oppose the motion that says Africa should join and form the United States of Africa. Thank you.
Imagine a human being with fingers of the same height. Imagine every learner being position 1 in all assessment. Will there be any competition? Now imagine if African countries unite, how much of a problem it will create. My name is Prince Monene, representing the great Kijani School, and I firmly stand here to oppose the motion that says all African countries should join to form the United States of Africa. On to my first point, diverse political system, and a single president does not jiggle. Africa is composed of countries with vastly different political system and governance style. By uniting this diverse system, it could lead to significant conflicts and inefficiencies. We are all trying to be like the United States of America, forgetting that their unity was easier because they had similar culture, similar language, and similar political development. Do you think, be it the Uganda President Museveni, or Paul Kagame, the Rwanda President, or even our own, His Excellency William Samoei Ruto, will agree to leave the presidential chair and be what? A country representative? That's ridiculous. On to my second point, potential for increased conflict. When elephant fights the grass that suffers, the diversity in political ideologies and governance structures among African countries could lead to significant internal conflict. To my third and final point, language barriers. Africa is made up of 2,000 languages. While a unified language could be established, language barriers will still pose significant conflicts, communication, and integration. Imagine bringing a South African to Kenya just to expect them to communicate with Uncle Kadusko from Kisilan just to buy a loaf of bread. Impossible. In my conclusion, let us all wake up to reality and stop thinking like 7-year-olds who are woken up from a dream where they were dancing with unicorns, and let us all agree that African countries can never be united. Thank you.
The dream of a United States of Africa. A utopia where 54 nations unite, come together, and sharing resources, governance, and identity. Sounds wonderful, right? Well, hold your zebras. Let me inject some reality into this idealistic dream. Judges, audience, David Tuba is my name from the esteemed Kijani School, opposing the motion that states all African countries should unite to form the United States of Africa, or if you would call it, the USA. This is ridiculous. This is nonsense. African countries should never come together and unite. Let's get down to business. For my first debate, too many cooks spoil the broth, the problem of diversity. Africa is a continent, not a country. We are speaking more than 2,000 languages and different religions, political ideologies, and traditions. Trying to merge all African countries is like mixing all the spices in your kitchen and expecting to have a good meal. Really? Some things are best left separate. We should all agree on that. Even smaller unions like European Union, disagreements over policies, trade, and governance have led to Brexit and other international conflicts. Now imagine an even more diverse continent trying to agree on a single leader. As they say, a house divided against itself cannot stand, and it never will. My name is David Tuba from the esteemed Kijani School, opposing the motion that African countries should unite to form the United States of Africa. That's ridiculous. Thank you.
Characterized by defined territory and a permanent population. And you're all wondering, what do we mean by Africa? Africa is the second largest continent with 55 countries, each with its own government. What is a country? A country is a sovereign political entity organized to manage the affairs of their citizens.
United. That's why we have the African Union. And this is what uniformity does to you. All of our fingers are different. The idea of all of us joining all of them to be one is diabolical, atrocious, and obnoxious. If you haven't noticed, we are going to cook here. So let me tie on the stove and introduce you to my ingredients, because you already know that the recipe is opposing. I will serve it to you without dressing. Of course, not in relevance in the form of a minister of Equatorial Guinea. That will be for later down the line when we are dotting our eyes and crossing our T's, refining our tapestry into a masterpiece. But for now, let me refine my definition. A country. She didn't tell you that it's governed by one political system. Why is that? Because Kenya has 3,060 people in government. USA has 762. I hope you can see that you're not only missing the forest for the trees, but the tree for the leaves. The United States of Africa. It's a hypothesis of all African countries joining and forming one country. One that has been brought up and put down again and again and again. Insanity is when you try the same thing over and over and over, expecting a different result. But a leopard doesn't change its course. Don't put the cards before the horse. Don't run before you can walk. Solve each piece of the puzzle first. Thus, my first point: cultural diversity and national identity. Or, as I'd like to call it, tribalism. Better framed by Professor P.L.O. Lumumba, a tragedy of gigantic proportions. Just how will we integrate over 3,000 languages in which a third of them are important, and our own leaders joining in the mix? Over 2,000 languages, not a single common one across water when they drink wine. They will give it to us with one hand and they take with the other. We debunk that opposites attract, because if it's anything, it's always conflict in lieu of cooperation. And this is evident in the EU with countries like South Africa, Tunisia, Morocco, and even Kenya, which fail to adhere to and abide by rulings. A 2023 report by the Unwavering Foundation found that only 14 of the 54 countries scored above half on the governance index. We are witnessing it far at first hand a sinking ship. It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion. And must I tell you that bad company corrupts good morals. Louis Martin, joined by the exemplary elocutionist Colette Hotere and Julian Mabeki. I hope I'll continue.
You cannot have that on one stick. Ladies and gentlemen, let's not break what's already marked by working and realistic unity. Good morning, honorable channels, esteemed opponents, and my fellow missionaries. My name is Colette Hotere, and I'm proudly representing the Kijani Bridge School. And today, I oppose this motion, not because I don't love Africa, but because I love it too much to show 54 unique nations into one oversized political blender. Now, on to my first point. Africa needs bridges, not regions, not borders. Africa's strength lies in building connections, not erasing differences. Instead of forcing one identity, let's be a continent of bridges, cultural, political, and economic, linking our strengths like rivers nourishing the land. Think of it this way: trying to unify Africa under one roof is like trying to plant a mango tree in the Sahara. It just doesn't suit the soil. Instead, we should focus on embracing regional unions such as ECOWAS and East African community, which are already thriving. For instance, the intra-African trade has increased by 20% in the year 2022 due to the African Continental Free Trade Area. This shows that collaboration works better than forced unity. And why fix what isn't broken? Unity doesn't mean one goal. It means making threads weaving one strong fabric. Let's be a continent. Let Africa look as a garden of diverse flowers, not a single uniform bush. My second point: economic disparities widen or close. Uniting Africa sounds great in theory, but in practice, the economic disparities between nations will cause massive tensions. What we antagonize? How do we ensure fairness when some countries are resource rich while others are struggling with basic infrastructure? An example is Nigeria has one of the largest economies in Africa, while Malawi is among the poorest. A union will increase the richer nations bearing the financial burden, leading to resentment. And according to the World Bank, the GDP per capita of Seychelles is over $30,000 US, while Burundi is under $300. These gaps are too wide for a single economic system to handle effectively. And the hand that gives is always the hand that takes. And equal economies would bring dependency, not prosperity. On to my third and my final point: unity brings non-regional strengths. Africa's regions have distinct strengths that are vital for their growth. For example, East Africa is leading in mobile money innovation, with Kenya's M-Pesa handling over $340 billion in transactions in the year 2021, while North Africa is thriving in renewable energy like its North Quetzalcoatl solar plant, the largest in the world. A single political system will overlook this regional strength by trying to centralize policies. And as Francis Mia Kofi Kwame Nkrumah said, we should neither face east or west, we'll face forward. In conclusion, honorable judges, while the idea of a United States of Africa sounds noble, it's a utopian dream that ignores Africa's diversity, economic disparities, and the regional strengths. Instead, we should focus on strengthening regional cooperation and respecting each nation's sovereignty. That concludes my argument. I was a speaker, Colette Hotere. Thank you.
The preposition have tried to paint a rosy picture of unity, but I am here to remind them that they should never confuse wishful thinking for reality. I am here to rebuttal their points because I support Africa. I support that Africa should not be united. Firstly, they say that African unity will make it a global superpower. Yes, because shouting unity will instantly transform us into a superpower. If that was true, then we would have been shouting Mercedes-Benz, and having that magnificent car appear outside our doors. Unity without a strong, firm foundation is wishful thinking. The United States of America Today's Africa can unite with what the literary has, what's dictatorship, tribalism, and corruption. As I finish off, they also said that a common currency will strengthen Africa's economy. A common currency, just like the euro, right? The same euro that nearly destroyed the Free economy. Africa has huge economic differences. You cannot expect Burundi's oil wealth and copy-based economy to match Nigeria's oil wealth. If we force them into one country, what happens to the country that mismanages its economies? Will the others just suffer just along? That's not unity, that's historic, that's financial hostage taking. Even Thomas Sankara, the great revolutionary, warned against relying on Western financial model, saying he who feeds you controls you. If Africa wants economic strength, we must first fix our own trade systems, corruption, and leadership. Because let's be honest, if we can't even trust our own leaders to count the election votes properly, how can we expect them to count the interests of 1.4 billion people? As I conclude, as Kamal Makedio, as the famous history better remembers him as, he said Jomo Kenyatta once said, when the missionaries came, the Africans had the land and the missionaries had the Bible. The Kijani taught us how to play with our eyes closed, and when we opened our eyes, they had the land and we had the Bible. I urge us to be as wise as Solomon and refuse to be like him. Thank you.
As I stand here again, I would like to tell you that your type of thinking is shut up. They say we debunk that opposites attract. Stop putting words in our mouths. Everything except a criminal record looks good on paper. So yes, the teeth are smiling, but it's the hearts. See, you cannot face people who are hungry, suffering, and lack stability because power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. For the sake of my safety, I won't mention any names. I beg to be the dad of this debate, but no, Africa should not unite. I mean, with leaders like the infamous Balthazar Ikonga, former Prime Minister of Equatorial Guinea, economic disparities and political instabilities, we are done cooking. We are done cooking. The meals are ready. The eyes are dotted. The T's are crossed. Our tapestry is finally a masterpiece. Only one team has served it to you on a silver platter. And equivocally, the better way is ours. Speaking is an art. We painted the canvas black, just like its people. That is our depiction. Let's die to let all of them live. Knowing when to walk away is wisdom. Doing so is courage. Plus, stop thinking like babies used to be begging for breast milk. Louis Martin, it's not ironic how that case is psychotic, but ours is iconic.
Has stood out by a difference of movement. That is Kijani, as because of age group, age. But this was a close one, and you guys have done an awesome job.